Hello, welcome to Aging Well in America. We're broadcasting from the Grosse Pointe War Memorial. Every day, 7,000 Americans turn 65. In the last 20 years, the number of those aged 85 and older has doubled to about 6 million. Within the next 40 years, that number, 6 million, will become 20 million. There will be 20 million Americans aged 85 and older. Are we ready? Is society ready? There's a lot of good work going on around the world. And with us today, we have a representative from the Greater Michigan chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. And she's going to tell us about one of the most recent pieces of legislation that is starting to get some teeth in it. I'd like to welcome Carrie Collins from the Alzheimer's Association. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you for having me.
So glad to have you with us today. Last week, there was a plan that was released by the Health and Human Services Department, which puts some meat, some real detail into the overall plan that President Obama signed back in January. Can you give us really just the high level of the plan?
Absolutely. The Alzheimer's Association was so excited to have this piece of legislation signed into law in January of 2011. Usually when you advocate for a piece of legislation, once it's passed and signed into law, you kind of sit back and wait for it to be implemented and take, you would hope, the effect that you would hope it would take. With this piece of legislation, it was very different. This specific piece of legislation, NAPA, or National Alzheimer's Plan Act, asked the federal government to, for the first time ever, bring multi-agencies together and create a plan to attack and address Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's was the only preventable cause of death in the top 10 that didn't have a plan to address it. When you look at cancer, heart disease, all of those diseases had a plan except for Alzheimer's. So at this time, we are in the stage of kind of the devil's in the details. We are working to see with the bureaucracy what this plan is going to entail and how we're going to come together as a nation and address Alzheimer's.
Great, thank you. I know that the plan has several categories. And one of the biggest, of course, is the effort to treat and prevent the disease and have that ability by the year 2025.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little about how you think that we'll be able to accomplish that.
Oh, I'm so excited that that is the first part of the plan that the agency is coming together to work on right now. Our CEO, Harry Johns, is a part of that effort. They brought stakeholders from all different areas of aging and all different government agencies together, and they're starting to work on how they are going to address this disease. Right now, when you get a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, it's a progressive and fatal brain disease. There's no really known way to stop it, no prevention for it. So we're looking at having something like that in place by 2025, and that is what the council is working on right now. And again, that council is being formed as a direct result of that NAPA legislation. Yeah. So it will be so exciting this winter and the spring to see how that disease is going to be addressed and attacked.
So one of the things that I understand is that the research that is being done out there really needs people to participate, to become part of the research projects, the trials, if you will. I've seen on your website where you really look and ask and advocate for people to come forward if they have any family members that they believe have Alzheimer's, because of course it's not always easy to diagnose. Part of that, however, the challenge I see is that so many people in their middle age will say they don't want to know. If they have it, they don't want to know. They just want to go about their lives today as they do. How does an advocacy group like Alzheimer's Association address that when we need those people to step forward?
Well, unfortunately, there still is a big stigma surrounding the disease. We're seeing it impact people at a younger age because we have better diagnostic tools to know what's going on. Someone can be diagnosed in the prime of their career, in the prime of their life, 50s, 60s. They could have 2 kids in college, definitely weren't planning to stop work at that time. So there can be a huge stigma as far as getting a diagnosis and coming out and saying that they have the disease. Some people are no longer able to continue work at that time due to liability issues. So it's a huge issue. We're working with that on multiple levels. One is that we have an early stage advocacy group that are meeting with politicians, letting them know what people in their community need, what caregivers need. It's very important if you feel that you have one of the warning signs, and we do have the warning signs listed on our website, and you can also call our toll-free hotline to get those. If you think you have them or you saw them in a loved one over the holidays, to find out what those are and get educated. For one reason, it could not be Alzheimer's at all.
Sure.
Some of these warning signs mimic things that could happen when you have a medication interaction, when you have a cardiovascular issue. So kind of hiding from that doesn't make it go away. You need to address it head on. Another kind of issue with Alzheimer's is when you're in denial, you lose time. You lose time you could be working with your doctor on maybe a cocktail of drugs to delay the symptoms. You lose time with your family where you could be planning and making your financial and care wishes known and enjoying your time. So you're really, it's not a good idea for several reasons.
And when we talk about the family, do we have enough research that shows that it is genetic, that it runs in families, if you will?
Oh, there's good news and bad news on that front. The last studies that I show, and again, a lot of what we know about Alzheimer's we have found out in the last 10 years. New research is going on all the time. That is one reason why fully funding Alzheimer's research is so critical. We don't want to lose out on that new generation of information. We want people who are in college right now and going to be the next generation of researchers, we want them to know that their labs are fully funded if they go into the Alzheimer's spectrum of things. With research,
and whether or not it is hereditary.
Oh yes, absolutely. With the early onset Alzheimer's that hits in your 40s, there is research that says that there is a genetic component to that. However, Alzheimer's, as we traditionally think of it, that hits after 65, really if you have risk factors such as high blood pressure, you're just as at risk of developing it as someone who has Alzheimer's in their family with that Alzheimer's as we traditionally think of it.
Okay, so it's not necessarily if your 89-year-old mother like mine has Alzheimer's that the children, we need to just assume that it's going to happen, because it may or may not, right?
No, you're not predestined for it, and there's things you can do to protect your brain health, such as staying active, doing the Sudoku, doing the crossword puzzles. Most importantly, staying socially active, staying connected with friends, and doing new and different things that really can protect your brain health and go a long way in preventing the disease.
So, working on brain exercises, brain fitness, if you will, can make a difference?
Studies have shown that it can, absolutely. A lot of what
by delaying, mostly?
Some studies have shown that, and again, a lot of what we're learning about Alzheimer's, we learn new things every day about it. A lot of it is still a mystery, why people develop those plaques and tangles that interrupt the neurons from transmitting information and cause the fatal brain disease.
Yeah. One of the other pieces, topics in the legislation that is being addressed that is especially of interest to me is the idea of building a workforce an effective workforce that can handle, that can work with, that can treat, and take care of these elderly that we talked about, that we will have so many of continuing going forward. Talk to us a little bit about what an effective workforce looks like to you, to the Alzheimer's Association.
Absolutely. We at the Alzheimer's Association really strive to meet families, caregivers, and those diagnosed with the disease where they're at. Some people choose to care for their individual at home. We in Michigan have the highest number of family or unpaid dementia caregivers per capita than any state across the country,
really?
Actually.
Let's stop there. Michigan has the highest per capita of caregivers?
For dementia.
For dementia?
Yes.
What kind of conclusions or insight do you have into that? I didn't realize that.
Absolutely. We have people that have committed to keeping their person at home for as long as they can. We work with people that care for their person sometimes from diagnosis through death. It's not something that every family is equipped for, and again, we meet people where they're at. Some people need resources to be able to transition mom or dad into the home, you know, into a skilled care facility, so we meet people where they're at with different resources.
Okay. In terms of support for the families, because families often are the primary caregiver, I know that your chapter really works hard to provide support groups, educational programs. Just give us a little rundown of what families, where they can go and what they can expect.
Absolutely. Throughout the state, we have a variety of programs going on. First and foremost, we always have our hotline, which is answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year by a skilled professional. You can call that hotline if you have questions for anything from maybe what your risk factors for Alzheimer's are, all the way up to being referred to financial planning, in-home care, anything like that, and that number is on the screen. So we offer that hotline. We also have a variety of workshops and programs for everyone from unpaid caregivers to professionals, and it can be ranging from topics from bathing, nutrition. We offer support groups for family members, and we also offer support groups for people who have been diagnosed with the disease. We also, in the Detroit area, in Detroit and Southfield, have a care center where home-based caregivers can bring their person with dementia for a few hours to get a break or to be able to work or take care of their own health care needs.
Wow, wonderful. That must be your respite program.
Correct.
Yeah. Tell us again some of the fundraising activities that go on throughout the year. These are always good dates for us to put on our calendars. We all want to participate and try to make a contribution, so this might be one way to do it.
Absolutely. What we're asking people to do right now, if they're interested in helping the association out, is form teams for our Walk to End Alzheimer's. That'll be at the Detroit Zoo in August. We also have a variety of purple parties, which is our events that people can throw in their home or their workplace and just kind of bring their friends together and educate them and have some fun and raise some money for Alzheimer's.
Yeah, my sisters and I and our mother, we took our mom, she was in a wheelchair, we did the walk last year at the zoo. It was really a fun and emotional event. It's one of these events that you have, it's bittersweet, right? In terms of different behaviors that we often see, I mean the forgetfulness, the memory loss, the confusion, that we understand. One of the hardest things, I think, for an adult child or a grandchild to deal with is combativeness. My mother, who was living with me up until a few weeks ago, now she's spending the winter with my sister in California, lucky her. She would, when she would start to get frustrated, get quite combative with me. She would accuse me of lying to her. She would not want to participate if we had a dinner or a party going on. She'd say, "I'm going to ruin your day." And there may not have been anything that triggered it. She was frustrated for some reason, which, you know, left my sisters and I really puzzled. How best to deal with combativeness like that?
That is unfortunately one of the hard parts of the disease. It impacts everyone differently. I've had a lot of caregivers tell me you lose your person twice. You lose them when they no longer recognize you or become someone different than the person you've known for years. And then you lose them again when they pass. Now, it does impact everyone differently. Some people don't experience the combative behavior with the disease. Some people, oddly, are reportedly more pleasant than they ever have been. So it does impact everyone differently. We do have specialized workshops to be able to help the caregiver get into a routine with their person living with the disease, and you know, maybe if there's something in the environment that's triggering that. Again, with the disease, sometimes you don't know, and sometimes you do get that violent behavior, and it's nothing that you've done.
Right. Okay.
One thing that we really stress is going with the flow if you're not in an unsafe situation. Just going with the flow. We have a board member who cares for his mother, and his father that had the disease, and he told a story about one day his dad got up and wanted to put on his wife's pants. And, you know, it would seem insane, or it would seem, you know, not a good thing to allow someone to go out of the house with someone else's pants, but he was perfectly happy. So what did it really harm? He was dressed and ready to go. So we really stress kind of going with the flow.
That's great, and yeah, that is a really, I believe, an important an important concept for caregivers, especially children, family members, to understand. Don't try to correct the statement. When my mom says something that isn't true, for instance, she didn't eat lunch, which she'll say, or someone didn't come to visit her who had just left, we don't correct her. We don't correct her. We either distract or, you know, just try to continue the conversation in a different way. In the beginning, we did correct her, and it just led to arguments. The short-term versus long-term memory, I think that's maybe what's going on with one of my neighbors who plays the piano. He's also very physically fit. 88 years old, was doing knee bends the other day when I went to visit him. It is very difficult for his wife, his children, his friends to have a conversation. It starts out seeming like it's going to be a normal conversation, and then it kind of veers into another area, and he might become repetitive or just stop and say, you know, I'm frustrated, and, well, he wouldn't say that, but it would be clear. When he gets up and sits at the piano, however, he plays beautifully, and he did that the other day when I went to visit, and it just brought tears to our eyes. We were really moved by the difference before the music and during the music. What do you know about that? What can we tell families about what's going on there?
Well, even though the disease affects everyone differently, a lot of what I've seen in my time with the association is that Alzheimer's impacts the ability to store new memories. You still have your old memories, and it seems almost as that the person can regress sometimes as they progress through the disease. Someone can live after diagnosis anywhere from 8 to 20 years. I've had caregivers tell me that they almost regress through different stages of their life back into where they're a teenager. I had one person tell me that she was caring for her grandma, and towards the end, her grandma had progressed backwards through her 40s, 30s, 20s, and back to her teen years, where the granddaughter was actually a rival for the grandma's teen boyfriend, and so she was combative towards her. There is a whole interesting line of great therapy around this idea, including playing music that was maybe in the top 10 when the person was in their teens and their 20s. That can be great. We have people that maybe are disoriented as far as, you know, who they are or what they're doing today, but they can remember maybe songs from when they were younger.
And being able to sing those songs or play a musical instrument, it's a good idea, of course, because it helps calm and helps the loved one feel as though he or she is doing the right thing, right? As opposed to constantly being, I imagine that sensing how your family is looking at you or talking about you has got to add to the level of frustration. And sometimes my sisters and I catch ourselves doing that, and it's necessary to stop. The Alzheimer's Association in general, how old is the organization? How many members? Give us some of the stats around the National Association and its relationship to other dementia-type organizations.
Well, we're proud at the Greater Michigan chapter to be celebrating our 30th anniversary this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. We are affiliated with our National Alzheimer's Association chapter, so we work with them. Even though here in the Metro Detroit area, we have an independent board made up of some great professionals that serve to direct and guide us. So we're excited about our 30th anniversary and looking forward to another 30.
Yeah, that's it's important that you're around during the next 30, certainly. In Macomb County, which is in the Grosse Pointes here and on the east side, are there programs that you know of coming up, or should we just direct people to your website? Is there a calendar of events that's easy to find?
Absolutely. You would find a calendar of events and special programs broken down by county. We have regular support groups that meet. We have regular advocacy activity. So if you are a caregiver and you would like to be, you know, part of the dialogue about what communities need or what the life of a, you know, what the 24-hour day of a caregiver is like, those activities are going on all the time.
Oh, wonderful.
And we have a variety of specialized workshops dealing with everything from nutrition to bathing to financial planning that would be going on throughout the year as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. With regard again to the families, because it is, they really are the ones that are living it day to day. The decision to go into a facility, a nursing home, versus staying home, is it always the case where the person is going into a nursing home, or is staying home till the person dies an option? And when and how does that decision get made? Who can help with that?
Definitely, you know, that's an individual decision for the families that they would make regarding their resources, what they're comfortable with, what they're physically and mentally able to do. There's been some wonderful improvements in technology if you're going to care for your person at home. And again, we have had people that have done that from diagnosis through the person passing. Wonderful technological advancements, everything from, you know, different alarm systems for the house and different, you know, triggers to help someone remember medication or let a caregiver know when mom or dad is up. And we've also had a kind of a new area, virtual caregiving, where someone, maybe a son or daughter who is out of state, can kind of assist with the caregiving and be kind of a care partner even though they're long distance.
Yeah, there are many websites that allow families to come together, like you say, virtually on the internet to put photos and so forth. Well, Carrie, we have come to the end of the show. Thank you again so much. The Alzheimer's Association is doing wonderful work. And I'd like to thank the Alzheimer's Association, and please do visit their website. Until next time, bye now.